What is going on, everybody? Welcome to the series finale of the Real GP series, where I'll be taking us through 20 different NPCs to show you just how much profit can really be made per hour. Thanks for checking out this video, everybody. Before we get started, I want to point out that all of these NPCs were viewer requested. I didn't choose any of them myself, but we've got a ton of GP per hours to get through in a short amount of time, so without further ado, let's kick off this countdown. Number 25, Mutated BLOODVELDS. Yep, number 25, the very last spot. Mutated BLOODVELDS are the stronger variant of the normal BLOODVELDS that reside in the catacombs of KURASKS. Although their GP per hour rate is pretty terrible, not everything is bad about these NPCs. Because of their very low defense level and high hit points level, the Mutated BLOODVELDS can be an incredible NPC for fast experience. Depending on your levels, you can expect anywhere from 60 to 90,000 XP per hour here. While killing the Mutated BLOODVELDS, I ended up profiting 178k per hour. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 50 or higher to fight the Mutated BLOODVELDS. Number 24, Dark Beasts. If you didn't catch this episode in the series, I'm sure you're probably surprised to see one of the highest level Slayer monsters this low on the countdown. Although they have a very high Slayer requirement, the Dark Beast drop table just isn't up to speed with most of the other Slayer NPCs. Their mediocre drop table could use a buff, and the Dark Bow just isn't worth what it once was. My profit per hour here ended up being only a meager 203k per hour. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 90 or higher to fight the Dark Beasts. Number 23, TZHAAR-KET. With the release of the Inferno in the summer of 2017, we saw a stronger variant of the TZHAAR-KET get introduced to RuneScape. These TZHAAR-KET had their combat level boosted to 221 and had some pretty significant drop table improvements. Along with the introduction of this NPC, we also saw the introduction of the Obsidian armor set, which is dropped by only the level 221 TZHAAR-KETs. This armor, when paired with the Berserker necklace and an Obsidian weapon, will give a melee strength and accuracy boost of 30%, making the Obsidian sword just slightly better than the Abyssal tentacle. After spending 25 hours here, I ended up profiting 220k per hour. Number 22, ABERRANT SPECTRES. While being one of the original Slayer monsters, the ABERRANT SPECTRES still end up pretty low on the list. As they can be a pretty quick Slayer task, the only things they're good for are some decent herb and herb seed drops, and some fast experience. 25 hours of killing these brought me in a profit per hour of 247k. Please keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 60 or higher, and be using a nose peg or Slayer helmet to fight the ABERRANT SPECTRES. Number 21, Brutal Blue Dragons with the Toxic Blowpipe. When the Catacombs of KURASKS were introduced, we got the pleasure of being able to fight a semi-new class of dragon. Although there were already brutal green dragons in the game, we previously didn't have brutal blues, reds, and blacks. Unfortunately, decent profit at the brutal blue dragons does come at a price. Supplies for the toxic blowpipe can get pretty expensive, and without decent range levels, kills can take a very long time depending on how high your range level actually is and what gear you're using. With the toxic blowpipe, I managed to rake in a profit per hour of 332k. Number 20, Dust Devils. This NPC actually surprised me quite a bit. Although they're low level, pretty easy to kill, and require only a Slayer level of 65, their profit per hour still outperform the Dark Beasts. The Dust Devils drop tons of elemental runes and tons of chaos runes, helping to bump that profit per hour up quite a bit. As popular as bursting Dust Devils is, I decided to melee them for a bit more profit per hour. I ended up profiting 355k per hour at the Dust Devils. Keep in mind that you'll need to complete the Desert Treasure quest up to the point of entering the Smoke Dungeon to be assigned Dust Devils as a Slayer task. Number 19, Greater NECHRYAELS. Greater NECHRYAELS are another popular bursting NPC, but again, I decided to melee these. There are a couple factors that go into making the NECHRYAELS profitable while bursting or barraging, the first being magic level and the second being the gear setup. If you have a lower magic level and a lower tier gear setup, you're almost positively going to either lose money or break even. However, if you decide to melee these, you're almost sure to make profit. With a decent prayer gear, prayer potions can last a very long time, thus bringing your supply costs down. I ended up profiting 390k per hour at the Greater NECHRYAELS over the course of 25 hours. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 80 or higher to fight the Greater NECHRYAELS. Number 18. Brutal Red Dragons with the Toxic Blowpipe. Like the Brutal Blues, the Brutal Red Dragons can still net some decent profit on or off of a Slayer task, but with the same drawbacks. Their high defense and hit points level make them more difficult to kill for players with lower range level and a lower tier gear setup. Brutal Red Dragons can only be killed on a Slayer task once they have been unlocked through a Slayer Master. I ended up profiting 416,000 GP per hour at the Brutal Red Dragons. Number 17. Abyssal Demons. Perhaps the most iconic Slayer monster, the Abyssal Demons still find themselves on the bottom half of this list. Although they do drop the best in slot weapon for attack and defense training, other than the Abyssal Whip, their drop table is not desirable at all. Without RNGesus rolling a whip drop for you, your profit per hour without a whip drop will be around 90k per hour. Luckily for me, while I was doing this video, I was right on the money with the drop rate. If you manage to stay on track with whip drops like I did, you'll be seeing 462k profit per hour or more if you're lucky. Keep in mind, you need a Slayer level of 85 or higher to fight the Abyssal Demons. Number 16. Wilderness ENTS. The Wilderness ENTS were probably one of the most surprising NPCs that I covered for this series. The ENTS have no hard requirements to kill, but only one soft requirement that isn't necessarily needed, but you'll definitely want to have it to make the most profit here. After defeating an Ent, the NPC will leave an Ent trunk on the ground. This can be chopped for 1 minute and gives noted logs depending on which type of axe you're using. When using a rune or dragon axe with level 75 woodcutting or higher, you'll have the ability to receive magic logs. Although the woodcutting XP isn't nearly as good as normal woodcutting, you'll receive 2 to 3 times the amount of magic logs here as you would from a magic tree. After 25 hours spent at the Ents, I ended up with a profit per hour of 519k. Number 15. Brutal Blue Dragons with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow. Although the Brutal Blue's blowpipe profit was not at all desirable, when using a Dragon Hunter Crossbow here, the profit per hour sees a very nice increase of almost 200k. If you can manage to get your hands on a Dragon Hunter Crossbow, I suggest doing these over the normal Blue Dragons just because of that 1 in 10,000 chance at the Draconic Visage. Seeing one of those on the ground is always a nice surprise. After completing this video, I ended up pulling in 520k profit per hour. Number 14. Gargoyles. Rumors. Gargoyles are most likely one of the most AFK'd NPCs in this game. Their drop table is pretty decent, and most of the drops can either be alked or stack up in the form of banknotes, making them a very desirable NPC to AFK. I've heard rumors that you can see up to 1 mil per hour here, but I'm here to tell you that that is not true at all. And to be honest, I still have some people that argue with me. Fortunately for me, I've got the evidence to back it up. I've been around the block twice with the Gargoyles and managed to bring in roughly the same amount of GP both times. For the video that this value is pertaining to, I can assure you it's very close to as accurate as it can be. After 25 hours at the Gargoyles, I managed to pull in a profit per hour of 567k. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 75 or higher and have a rock hammer in your inventory to fight and destroy the Gargoyles. Number 13. KURASKS. Well, if you thought Gargoyles were pretty good, now you'll see that you don't even have to bang out those extra 5 Slayer levels to make some decent AFK money on an alternate account. Jagex recently released an update for the Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe that gave the weapon a decent boost in power. The slash attack bonus was made equal to the crush attack bonus, and the Battle Axe was given a passive bonus of 17.5% increased damage when fighting Turoths or KURASKS. After the Leaf-Bladed Battle Axe buff, the KURASKS profit per hour was able to surpass the Gargoyles. After 25 hours of using the buffed Battle Axe, I ended up pulling in 595k profit per hour. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 70 or higher and be using either Leaf-Bladed or Broad weaponry to successfully fight the KURASKS. Number 12. Brutal Black Dragons with the Toxic Blowpipe. The Brutal Black Dragons are such a good money-making method regardless of the range weapon used that Jagex actually had to implement a Slayer level of 77 to kill them. Brutal Blacks were being camped so hard by normal players and bots alike that it was nearly impossible to complete a Slayer task of Black Dragons here. But just like the Brutal Reds and Blues, the Blowpipe has its typical drawback of extremely high operating costs. I ended up with a profit per hour of 612k while fighting the Brutal Black Dragons with the Toxic Blowpipe. Number 11. Green Dragons. This was actually incredibly surprising to me. Green Dragons are very weak and a very low combat level, making them ideal for quick kills. With the price of Dragon Bones and Dragon Hides, you're guaranteed over 3500 GP per kill. Additionally, with the Wilderness Elite Stun and a looting bag, you'll generally be able to bring in about 45 kills per trip, if you're lucky enough to not get hassled by PKers. I spent the usual 25 hours at the Green Dragons and ended up pulling in a 620k profit per hour. Number 10. NECHRYAELS. Sliding into the number 10 spot, this one might be a shocker. The normal NECHRYAELS are another one of those Slayer monsters that you wouldn't expect to be a decent moneymaker. In a not so distant past, the NECHRYAELS were another Slayer NPC that had their drop table buffed. They now drop many more rune items and many more runes, making them a much more appealing task. At almost double the profit per hour of their greater counterparts, you may find yourself wanting to slay these instead. After this video, I ended up raking in 633k profit per hour. Keep in mind that you'll need a Slayer level of 80 or higher to fight the NECHRYAELS. Number 9. Brutal Red Dragons with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow. With the recent buff to the Dragon Hunter Crossbow, Brutal Red Dragons just became a much more viable Slayer task and much more viable to just camp. They aren't hard to get to, and they now take a ton of damage from the much needed crossbow buff. Before the buff, you could find yourself making 660k profit per hour at the Brutal Black Dragons. To put that into perspective, you'll now be able to make 634k profit per hour at the Brutal Reds. Number 8. Ancient Wyverns. Ancient Wyverns were in somewhat of a limbo until very recently. Just a couple of weeks before this video, the Ancient Wyverns boasted a defense level of 220, making them very hard to kill and pretty much becoming dead content on their launch day. Fortunately though, Jagex took notice of this and made some improvements. Their defense level was reduced to 150, making their kills per hour increase by a decent amount. More kills per hour means more drops per hour, which means more profit per hour. Before their defense nerf, I managed to bring in 511k profit per hour, but after the nerf was made live, I headed back to the Ancient Wyverns to see just how much better they had gotten. After my second round of 25 hours at the Ancient Wyverns, I managed to bring in 646k profit per hour. Keep in mind, you'll need a Slayer level of 82 or higher to kill the Ancient Wyverns. Number 7. Skeletal Wyverns with the Abyssal Whip. Meleeing the Skeletal Wyverns with the Abyssal Whip might not be as AFK as ranging, but the kills are pretty quick and supplies aren't that costly. There has been a pretty big argument between using the Hosta or Abyssal Whip here, but since the crush and slash defense bonus of the Skeletal Wyverns is identical, the Abyssal Whip's superior strength and slash bonus will always outperform the Hosta. After racking up 25 hours at the Skeletal Wyverns, I managed to pull in a profit per hour of 803k. Keep in mind, you'll need a Slayer level of 72 or higher to kill the Skeletal Wyverns. Number 6. Skeletal Wyverns with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow. Coming in at number 6 right after the melee method is once again the Skeletal Wyverns. The Skeletal Wyverns are one of the most, if not the most, AFK'd NPC in all of RuneScape. Once the aggressive nature wears off after about 10 minutes, the Wyverns can be safe spotted from a distance while the player takes absolutely zero damage. For the method I chose, I went with ranging with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow and banking the loot instead of using runners or just leaving the dragon bones on the ground. After the buff to the Dragon Hunter Crossbow, the Wyverns aren't quite as AFK as they used to be, but you'll now find yourself making a profit of up to 805k per hour if you bank the loot yourself. Don't forget that you will still need a Slayer level of 72 or higher to fight the Skeletal Wyverns. Number 5. Lava Dragons. Sliding into the number 5 spot is gonna be the Lava Dragons. The Lava Dragons are located out in mid to deep wilderness on Lava Dragon Isle. Although this is an incredibly dangerous location that is frequented by PKers of all different levels, I assure you that if you're vigilant and you watch the minimap, bank can be made here. Lava Dragons actually have an awesome drop table and pretty much guarantee 9 to 10k per kill between the Black Dragon Hide, Lava Dragon Bones, and Lava Dragon Scales they drop. So if you're brave enough to spend an extended amount of time out here, you could see yourself making a ton of money. After 25 hours at the Lava Dragons, and assuming you don't die, you can see profits per hour of around 862k. Number 4. Brutal Black Dragons with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow. Coming into my number 4 spot are the Brutal Black Dragons with the Dragon Hunter Crossbow. The Dragon Hunter Crossbow once again drastically reduced the supply costs while fighting the very popular Brutal Black Dragons. If you have the range gear and level to kill these at a decent speed, spending a day or two here could really bolster your bank value. After coming back here with the buff Dragon Hunter Crossbow, I ended up averaging 996k profit per hour. Once again, keep in mind that you will need a Slayer level of 77 or higher to fight the Brutal Black Dragons. Number 3. Revenants with the Elder Maul. Coming in at number 3 is going to be the Revenants with the Elder Maul. Although this is an incredibly dangerous place for some PVMing, the profits can still be incredible even with a few deaths here and there. The Revenants are located in the wilderness in a multi-combat area, so PKers are most certainly going to be around. The drop table here at Revenants is absolutely incredible. Even without the rare drops on the table, you're still looking at a very nice profit per hour rate. but because the rare drops are so rare, I'll only be giving the profit per hour excluding these rares because they are by no means guaranteed. As the Revenant's drop table was just recently buffed, I had to redo the time spent here. After my second round at the Revenants with the Elder Maul, I increased my profit per hour from 708k per hour to 1,154k per hour. You might want to consider spending some time here regardless of how many times you die. Number 2, Demonic Gorillas. Demonic Gorillas are a great NPC for some cash making. They drop the Zenyte Shard at a rate of only 1 in 300, which is used to create all of the best in slot jewelry. Considering the Zenyte Shard goes for around 9 mil, a 1 in 300 drop rate means, depending on your RNG, you can rack up tons and tons of cash in a short amount of time. Should you hit the drop rate of 1 in 300, you could be seeing a profit per hour rate of 1.2 million GP per hour. That is not too bad for a non-boss NPC. But if you're lucky, your profit per hour could far exceed that of 1.2 mil an hour. If you'd like to kill the Demonic Gorillas, keep in mind that you will need to complete the Monkey Madness 2 quest. Number 1, Revenants with the Toxic Blowpipe. And finally, taking the number 1 spot is going to be the ranged method at the Revenants. As for killing the Revenants with the Blowpipe, the kill speed is drastically increased when compared to the Elder Maul. Although the upkeep cost of the Blowpipe is very expensive, the recently updated Revenant drop table helps to negate most of the costs. After using the Blowpipe at the Revenants, I managed to vastly eclipse the 1 mil per hour mark at 1,246k profit per hour. Honorable mention, Brutal Black Dragons with the Twisted Bow. Some of you might be wondering why this is only an honorable mention, and I have only one answer. Expensive. Although the Twisted Bow is without a doubt the best method for killing any type of Brutal Dragon, its 1 billion GP plus price tag makes it a very hard item to acquire. Few players can actually afford to buy a Twisted Bow, so I left it off the countdown and decided to put it in as an honorable mention based solely on its price. With Amethyst arrows and a Twisted Bow, I didn't even have to use prayer potions. I could stay for a whole trip on just 99 prayer points and manage to get a full inventory of loot every single time. If you have a Twisted Bow and the rest of the best in slot ranging gear, you can find yourself making around 1.1 mil profit per hour. Alright guys, that is it. I really hope you've enjoyed this series finale. It's been over 4 months that I've been working on this series, all just to figure out how much can really be made at these NPCs. I want to thank all of you that have stuck around for the whole series and caught every episode. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a thumbs up down below, and if you have any questions or comments, please let me know. I will try to respond to every single one that I can. If you haven't done so yet, check out my Twitch channel. I stream every weeknight from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. and I do potential giveaways every single night. So make sure you follow the Twitch, make sure you subscribe if you can, and turn on those notifications so you can see when I am live. Until the next series begins, I will see you all next time. Happy camping. Take it easy, everybody.